Around the world, there are railways so dangerous, so extreme, they defy gravity itself. Built on cliffs, across oceans, through war zones and active volcanoes. Here we discover cling to cliffs, climb extreme altitudes, and pass through some of the planet's most unforgiving landscapes. High in the Andes of Ecuador, the Devil's Nose Railway, known locally as Nares del Diablo, is carved into what looks like a near-vertical wall of rock. From a distance, the mountain resembles a giant nose jutting into the sky, but up close it feels more like a sheer cliff. The railway was built in the early 20th century, when engineers faced terrain so steep that traditional tracks were impossible. To overcome this, they designed a dramatic zigzag switchback system that forces the train to move forward and backward repeatedly as it descends the mountain. What makes Devil's Nose especially dangerous is the extreme gradient. The train clings to narrow ledges hacked directly into solid rock, with sharp drops falling hundreds of meters into deep valleys below. There are sections where passengers can look out the window and see nothing but open air beneath the tracks. In heavy rain, the mountain becomes unstable, increasing the risk of landslides and falling rocks that can block or damage the line. The construction itself was one of the most treacherous engineering projects in South America. Workers battled harsh weather, unstable cliffs, disease, and limited equipment. Dynamite was used to blast through rock, often in dangerous and unpredictable conditions. Many laborers lost their lives during the railway's construction, giving the route a reputation not only for physical danger, but also for its tragic human cost. Even today, traveling along Devil's Nose feels like defying gravity. As the train slowly reverses direction on its switchbacks, it inches along the mountain edge with breathtaking exposure. Though modern safety measures have improved operations, the combination of steep slopes, unpredictable Andean weather, and towering cliffs ensures that the Devil's Nose remains one of the most dramatic and intimidating railway journeys in the world. Climbing through the wild mountains between Alaska and Canada, the White Pass and Yukon route is one of the most dramatic railways ever built. Constructed in 1898 during the Klondike Gold Rush, it was designed to transport thousands of hopeful prospectors chasing gold in the Yukon. The terrain, however, was brutally unforgiving. Engineers had to carve a narrow-gauge railway through steep granite cliffs, icy mountain passes, and unstable slopes where avalanches were common. What many thought was impossible was completed in just over 2 years. The danger begins with its extreme elevation gain. In only about 20 miles, the railway climbs nearly 3,000 feet. The tracks twist around sharp curves and cling to cliff edges with little room for error. In several places, trains cross towering trestle bridges suspended above deep gorges, where a single structural failure could have meant disaster. During winter, heavy snowfall and avalanches threaten to bury sections of the track, making maintenance a constant battle against nature. Historically, the railway carries a darker side of the gold rush era. Thousands of workers endured freezing temperatures, dangerous blasting operations, and hazardous construction conditions. Explosives were used to carve through solid rock faces, often hanging by ropes along vertical cliffs. Injuries were common, and survival depended on endurance, grit, and sheer determination. Despite the risks, the line became a lifeline for gold seekers and supply transport into the remote north. Today, the White Pass and Yukon route operates as a historic railway, but the sense of danger has not entirely disappeared. As the train slowly winds along narrow ledges high above the valley floor, passengers can look straight down into vast wilderness. The mountains remain wild, the weather unpredictable, and the engineering bold. It stands not only as a monument to human ambition during the gold rush, but also as a reminder of how fragile steel can seem against the power of nature. Off the southeastern coast of India, where the Bay of Bengal meets the Indian Ocean, the railway to Rameswaram crosses a narrow strip of sea on the historic Pamban Bridge. Opened in 1914, it was India's first sea bridge, built to connect the mainland town of Mundapum with the sacred island of Rameswaram. At the time, constructing a railway across open water was considered an extraordinary engineering gamble. The bridge stretches more than 2 kilometers over restless tides, exposed to salt, wind, and shifting currents. What makes this route dangerous is not altitude, but exposure. Unlike mountain railways protected by cliffs, the Pamban Bridge stands alone in open sea. Powerful crosswinds sweep across the narrow track, and during storms the waves rise violently beneath the steel girders. Trains must slow dramatically while crossing, as gusts can push against the carriages. The sensation for passengers is unsettling. On both sides, nothing but water, and below, the roar of the ocean. The railway's greatest test came in 1964, when a devastating cyclone struck the region. Winds exceeding 250 kilometers per hour battered the bridge, washing away sections of track and destroying a passenger train near Dhanushkodi. The disaster claimed many lives and left the surrounding town in ruins. In the aftermath, engineers rebuilt and reinforced the bridge, strengthening it against future storms. The tragedy became a defining chapter in the bridge's history, a reminder of nature's overwhelming force. Today, the Chennai-Rameswaram route remains one of India's most dramatic railway journeys. Modern monitoring systems track wind speeds, and services are suspended during severe weather. Yet the crossing still demands respect. As the train moves slowly across the open sea, framed by endless horizon and shifting sky, it becomes clear that this railway is not merely a connection between 2 points of land. It is a fragile line drawn across water, a testament to human determination set against the vast, unpredictable power of the ocean. Death Railway, Thailand, Myanmar Railway. Carved through the dense jungles and unforgiving mountains between Thailand and Myanmar, the Death Railway stands as one of the most haunting engineering projects of the 20th century. Built during the Second World War under the command of Imperial Japan, the 415-kilometer line was intended to supply Japanese forces in Burma. But the cost was measured not only in steel and timber, it was measured in human lives. More than 60,000 Allied prisoners of war and over 200,000 Asian laborers were forced to carve a railway through rock and jungle using little more than basic hand tools. Thousands perished from starvation, disease, exhaustion, and brutal treatment, giving the railway its chilling name. The most infamous stretch lies near Kanchanaburi at Helfa Pass, a brutal cutting forced through solid rock by prisoners weakened by hunger and disease. Under the relentless tropical sun, men chipped away at stone for up to 18 hours a day. At night, the pass was lit by flickering torches, casting long shadows against the cliffs, a scene survivors later described as something out of an inferno. Disease spread quickly through the overcrowded camps. Cholera, malaria, and dysentery claimed thousands. The pace was merciless and the deadline unforgiving. The railway was completed with shocking speed, but the suffering carved into the rock was permanent. But beyond its tragic history, the railway itself was, and in many ways still is, dangerously fragile. Built in haste through dense jungle and across unstable mountainsides, sections of track cling to sheer limestone cliffs with little margin for error. Wooden trestle bridges were erected over deep ravines using limited materials, often without proper reinforcement. During construction, embankments frequently collapsed under monsoon rains, and derailments were common. A single misstep along the narrow cliffside paths could mean a fatal fall. Workers faced landslides, falling rocks, venomous wildlife, and flash floods. The jungle was as deadly as the war itself. Even today, as parts of the line operate as a historic railway, the danger has not entirely disappeared. The tracks snake along high ledges above rivers, and some wooden structures remain exposed to erosion and tropical storms. Heavy rainfall can weaken the soil beneath the rails, and rockfalls still threaten certain sections. For visitors, the journey is both breathtaking and unsettling, a slow passage along a route that was never meant to be safe, only functional. The Death Railway endures as a haunting monument, beautiful in landscape but built in peril, and forever marked by the immense risks and human cost that shaped it. Tren a las Nubes, Argentina. High in the northwest of Argentina, where the Andes rise into thin, shimmering air, the Tren a las Nubes, the train to the clouds, climbs more than 4,000 meters above sea level. Originally built in the early 20th century as a freight line connecting Argentina to Chile, this railway was a masterpiece of engineering designed to conquer one of the harshest landscapes on Earth. Instead of tunneling straight through mountains, engineers carved spirals, zigzags, and looping tracks into the rock, allowing the train to slowly gain altitude across vast desert valleys. Today it is one of the highest railways in the world, suspended between earth and sky. But beauty at this altitude comes with real danger. The railway crosses fragile mountain terrain where oxygen levels drop dramatically, affecting both passengers and workers. Sudden weather changes can bring fierce winds, freezing temperatures, or blinding sun within hours. The tracks twist along steep cliffs and narrow ridges, and the most dramatic section, the towering La Polvorilla Viaduct, carries the train across a massive steel bridge more than 60 meters above the ground. At such heights, strong gusts and extreme exposure make the crossing both breathtaking and intimidating. Even during its construction, the project was considered risky and ambitious. Workers battled isolation, altitude sickness, and unstable mountain slopes. Landslides and shifting ground remain natural threats in this remote region. Though modern safety systems now protect tourists, the sense of vulnerability remains as the train inches across high bridges and winds through silent, empty landscapes. The Tren Las Nubs is not merely a scenic journey. It is a reminder that human ambition once dared to challenge the roof of the Andes, where every rail laid was a step into thin air.